So we've already gone through and found the equation of a line. We're going to continue with that. We're still going to be finding the equation of a line. So if you remember, we have these two formulas. So if I know the slope, or I know and I know the y-intercept, then this is the easiest formula to use. Just use the y equals mx plus b. You plug in those two things and you're done. If you don't know the slope, if you know the slope, always got to know the slope, but you don't know the y-intercept, then you can use this called point slope. And the reason why we call it that is because this x1 and y1, right? x1 and y1 is any point on the line. And so you don't have to have that specific point, that y-intercept. You can use any point along the line with that formula. So those are our two formulas, and we used that in the last lesson we went through here. Let's just do one quick example that goes with that. So this says, write the slope-intercept form of the equation that passes through the given point and has the given slope. So my two choices are y equals mx plus b, and y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So this is the one I prefer, but I have to know the y-intercept. This point is not the y-intercept, so we can't use that one. So we're going to use point slope instead. So I know what m is, I know the slope, and this is my point, so it's my x1, y1. Okay, we're going to plug that in the formula. So I'm going to go y minus my y-coordinate equals the slope times x minus my x-coordinate. Whoops. And my x-coordinate is -2. All right, minus a negative changes to a plus. I'm just putting it in the right form now. So y minus 2 equals, I'm going to distribute that 1/2 through. 1/2 x. 1/2 times 2 is 1. Okay. Add that 2 over to the other side. So the equation of the line comes out to be y equals 1/2 x plus 3. Now we know the y-intercept, right? We know it crossed at 3. So this is nothing new. This is what we've done before. What we're going to do today is just add maybe an extra step or two in. So if you look at this problem, it says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that passes through the given points. Now the difference in this problem from the other problems we've done is that it does not tell you the slope. But we know how to find the slope if we have 2 points, and I do have 2 points. So just a quick reminder, if you're given points and you want to find the slope, we have this formula. It's the slope equals x2 minus x1. Ooh, I almost did that wrong. I'm sorry. Let me try again. The change in y goes on top, right? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have that slope formula we can use. So let's pick a point to call x1, y1. And if you remember, you can choose whichever one you want. It doesn't matter. Okay, subtract the y's. So if I go 3 minus 4 over, and if I go 3 minus 4, I have to go -4 minus 0. Okay, that ends up being -1 over -4, or a positive 1/4. All right, so now I've got the slope. So now I've got to decide now, I want to find the equation of the line. I can either use y equals mx plus b if I know the y-intercept, or if not, this formula always works. So if I look over here, you could do either one on this one because the point 0, 4, right, when x is 0, y is 4, that means 4 is the y-intercept. So on this one, it told you the y-intercept. So that means b equals 4. So I can just use our shorter formula, y equals 1/4 x, the slope, plus 4, and there's the equation of my line. Now, if I wanted to, I could also use a point, and I could use this formula. You get the same thing if you use that formula, but it's just more work. And so if you do know the y-intercept, use the y equals mx plus b. Okay, let's try this one. So same directions. We want to find the slope-intercept form of the equation. I have these 2 points. So I'm going to start by finding the slope. So let's find the slope. So the slope is equal to, use our formula, I'm going to go y minus y. So I'm going to go 4 minus -4 over x minus x. So that'd be -5 minus negative 4. So that ends up being, that changes to a plus 8. That changes to a plus. Negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1. So there's my slope right there, which is a negative 8. Okay, negative 4 is not on the y-axis. It is not the y-intercept. And negative 5, 4 is not the y-intercept. So neither of those are y-intercepts. So that means I need to use my second formula, the y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Sometimes this can get confusing. Sometimes we try using both of those points. You should always only use one of the points. And so you need to pick one of those and decide and call it your x1, y1. And it doesn't matter which one you do. I'm going to use this one, but you could use the other one. We'll get the same answer. So we're going to go y minus my y coordinate equals my slope times x minus my x coordinate. So I got y minus 4 equals, distribute that through. That'd be negative 8x minus 40. Add the 4 over. So my equation comes out to be y equals negative 8x minus 36. So this is not so different from what we've done before. Really the only difference is it's not giving you the slope, and so you have to use our slope formula to find the slope. I want you guys to try one, so pause the video, work through this problem, and you're just finding the equation of the line again, and then unpause it, and I'll go through it with you. So start by finding the slope. So again, go y minus y, so I'm going to go 5 minus 3, so I took that minus that. So now I go x minus x, so that minus that. So 5 minus 3 is 2, changes to a plus, so it's 6. So my slope comes out to be a third. Okay, decide which formula to use. Slope-intercept, I have to know the y-intercept. Well, 1, 5 is not the y-intercept, either is negative 5, 3. So I've got to use my second formula, point slope. So I got the slope, I just need a point. So pick one of those two to be the point. Again, it's up to you which one you use. I'm going to use this one right here. So it's x1, y1. Plug in your numbers. So y minus 5 equals 1/3 times x minus the x coordinate. Okay, that is the equation of the line. Now it's just a matter of putting that equation in the correct form. So distribute the 1/3 through. Y minus 5 equals 1/3 x minus 1/3. Add the 5 over. This one's a little tricky because we're going to end up with a fraction. So I end up with y is equal to 1/3 x. And if we can do some fraction work here, I go negative 1/3 plus 5 over 1, which I'm going to make 15 over 3. I just got a common denominator times top and the bottom by 3. So add those together. Negative 1 plus 15 would be 14. So plus 14/3. And there's the equation of the line. Sometimes they don't work out nice. Sometimes you will have fractions. Now, the other thing we're going to cover today is what it means for two lines to be parallel and what it means to be perpendicular. Well, if two lines are parallel, they're going the same direction. If they're going the same direction, that means they have, we shared this in your notes, parallel lines, that means they have the same slope. So if your two lines are parallel, you know that they have the same slope. Hey, perpendicular means that they cross at 90-degree angles. So those two lines are perpendicular right there. Okay, they cross at 90-degree angles. Well, slopes that, if you have two lines that are perpendicular, their slopes are what we say opposite reciprocals. Okay. So opposite means opposite sign. So if one slope is positive, the other one has to be negative. And reciprocal means you take the fraction and you flip it over. So some examples of this, I have this little chart here in your notes. If the slope is 2/3, if I have a line that's parallel to it, its slope will also be 2/3. If it's perpendicular, though, the slope will be, you do the opposite sign. So instead of being positive, it'll be negative, and you flip it over. So if one line has a slope of 2/3, the line perpendicular to it has a slope of negative 3/2. Okay, if slope's a negative 1/4, the line parallel also has a slope of a negative 1/4. The line perpendicular, if you flip that over and change the sign, 1/4 becomes 4/1, which is just 4. Okay, slope of 5, parallel 5, perpendicular would be a negative 1/5. Negative 2, the parallel is the same. Opposite reciprocal would be a 1/2. Parallel, same slope. Opposite reciprocal, a positive 2/7. Okay, so if you know, long story short, if you know the slope of a line, then you also know the slope of the line that's parallel to it, or you can find the slope of the line that's perpendicular to it. So if you're asked to do this, write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that is described. So we know it passes through this point. That's going to be my x1, y1. And it's parallel to this line over here. Well, if it's parallel to this line, that means it has the same slope. So the slope of this line is negative 6. So the slope of the line I'm looking for is also negative 6. So now I've got a point, 1, negative 2, and I've got the slope, which is negative 6. Okay, let's plug it in our formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, plug in our information. So y minus negative 2 equals negative 6 times x minus 1. So I just plugged in my x1, y1, and my slope. Okay, I end up with y plus 2 equals, distribute that negative 6 through, so negative 6x plus 6 minus the 2 over. So my equation would be y equals negative 6x plus 4. And I want you to compare that line and this line. Notice how they both have a slope of negative 6 because they're parallel. Now the y-intercepts don't have to be the same. This one crosses at 5, that one crosses at 4. What has to be the same is their slope. Okay, it has to work out to be the same thing. Okay, let's do a similar example, but let's do one that's perpendicular. I think I have a perpendicular problem here. Oh, here we go. So I want to find the equation of the line that passes through the point negative 2, negative 1. So I know it goes to this point, so that's my point I'm going to use. And it's perpendicular to this line. Hey, if this line has a slope of a negative 2/3, if the line we're trying to find is perpendicular, it's got to have a slope of a positive 3/2. So opposite reciprocal. Okay, so here's my slope. There's my point. Plug in your information. This would be y minus negative 1 equals the slope times x minus negative 2. Okay, that's the equation. Just have to put it in the right form. Y plus 1, whoops, not y plus plus 1, y plus 1 equals, distribute that through, 3/2 x. 3/2 times 2, hey, make sure you're careful with your fractions here. Those 2's just cancel out. It ends up being, 6/2, which is just 3. Minus the 1 over. Okay, there's the equation of our line. Y is equal to 3/2 x plus 2. So those will be the two type of problems you have on here. One is where you're given 2 points and you want to find the equation. You've got to use the slope formula to find the slope. The second one is when you're given a line that is parallel to or perpendicular to. So you'll have to use that line to find the slope. Find the slope of the line that's parallel or perpendicular to. You can use that to find the slope of the line you're trying to find. And then just use our formula still to find the equation of the line. But that should be it. Thanks, guys.